Here in the United States, we need to be well aware of the fact that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent additional warning shots to the U.S. and said that we need to prevent Ukraine from attacking Russian soil, or we are going to see some serious consequences. So I want to break down what's going on right now, why everybody at this time is looking at this Trump guilty verdict. Nobody's discussing what is happening between Ukraine and Russia that is putting the United States right in the middle. So I'm going to break down what has been said over the past week, why this should be very concerning to people within the U.S., and what the FBI is concerned with as well. So I'm going to break all that down in just a moment. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So first off, let's discuss what is the FBI worried about. Well, the FBI is concerned over a possible terrorist attack in the United States. One of the reasons why the FBI is so concerned is because of all the tensions that are happening within the U.S., but also abroad. Think about it. We just got a guilty verdict on former President Donald Trump. This is the first time a former U.S. president has been convicted of a felony crime. This is huge. This is a new first. Okay? This is going to cause many people, avid Trump supporters to potentially, and again, this could hurt, but they could go and attack, their opposition, the people that they see as their, a threat, not just to them, but to, potentially the United States. Again, the problem right now, like the FBI says, they're concerned with a possible terrorist attack. Now, look at this. It says, as I look back over my career in law enforcement, I would be hard-pressed to think of the time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated all at once. But that is the case as I sit here today. That is what the FBI Director Christopher Wray said. Now, let's look at what Russian President Vladimir Putin had to say as well. It says, Putin warns West of serious consequences if Russian soil is hit. Now, it's not just if Russian soil is hit. It's if Russian soil is hit by U.S. weapons. Here's the problem. The Biden administration just recently green lights Ukraine's use of American weapons to strike inside of Russia. However, keep in mind, it's a partial lift. Look at this. It says Biden partially lifts ban on Ukraine using U.S. arms in strike on Russian territory. Now, I want to get to that, okay? That's important. But first, I want to read you what Vladimir Putin had to say. He says, this constant escalation can lead to serious consequences. If these serious consequences occur in Europe, how will the United States behave? Bearing in mind our parity in the field of strategic weapons, it's hard to say. Do they want a global conflict? Anytime that question is brought up, global conflict, right? Nuclear war, nuclear weapons, that should make us wonder, what is Russia prepared to do? We've heard from multiple world leaders, and they all say the same thing, that Russia would likely set off some type of nuclear attack. We don't know for sure, but that's what all of them say. Let's keep reading. It says representatives of countries that are NATO members, particularly in Europe, should be aware of what they are playing with. Countries with small territory and dense populations should be particularly careful. Okay. Now, what does the United States decide to do? Well, Let me read you one last thing. It says Secretary of State Antony Blinken, during a trip to Kyiv this month, said the U.S. was committed to ensuring Ukraine can win the war against Russia, but stressed Kyiv should focus on taking back Ukrainian territory. That's the big difference. Says Ukraine has to make a decision for itself about how it's going to conduct this war, a war it's conducting in defense of its freedom, of its sovereignty, of its territorial integrity. We've been clear about our own policy. Here's the thing that you need to keep in mind. The Ukraine has been kind of doing their own thing for a little bit. They haven't listened to President Biden and Antony Blinken 100% over the past couple of years. Okay? Again, they've done their own thing. They've used money and weapons in their own way. Now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken says that they should focus on taking back Ukrainian territory. That's the reason why the U.S. is providing all this weaponry. The problem is that's not the way the Biden administration sees it, or not the way that the Putin, the Kremlin, see what's going on. They see it as the United States is sending weapons. This could potentially turn into a war. But like the FBI has stated before, we could see possible terrorist attacks in the U.S. But based off of more recent reports and updates, what we are facing now is not an actual terrorist attack. It's more of a cyber attack. We will see cyber attacks against our water supply, our electrical grid, transportation. That's where we're going to see cyber attacks. Now, I bring this to your attention because President Biden and the Biden administration have, again, they lifted this ban. So Ukraine can use U.S. arms to strike on Russian territory. But depending on how they go about this, we don't know. Okay? I want to read you one thing right here. It says Biden's directive allows for U.S. supplied weapons to be used for counterfire purposes in the Kharkiv region so Ukraine can hit back against Russian forces that are attacking them or preparing to attack them. That's the difference. Okay? It's counterfire purposes in the Kharkiv region. That's the policy change. Okay? It says Ukrainian officials have stepped up calls on the U.S. administration to allow their forces to defend themselves against attacks originating from Russian territory. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, is just 20 kilometers or 12 miles from the Russian border. That's the policy shift. But if Ukraine decides, you know what, we need this weapon, or we need these U.S. weapons, we need to fire them off, we need to push them back even further, and they start hitting Russian territory, and again, outside the Kharkiv region, well, that could escalate this war very quickly. So, we'll see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you right now is I will be here every step of the way. I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But as of today, that is all we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.